Welcome back, real estate investors. Thank you so much for your time again. We're jumping into the various real estate investment products, which will guide you to what is the difference between what is available in the market, and we'll use the kind of call it more standard type of products to compare with. Obviously, there's continuous new products, etc., that comes into the market, and our function as Wealth Assist is obviously there to also assist you if you have got proper products that you want to bring to us to review before you proceed. So the first one is income and capital growth recovery product, and the recovery product, what we can mostly compare it to is a buy to let, where you buy a property with a purpose to rent it out and create yourself either a passive income in the future or whatever the purpose is for that. That'll be where real estate owners will be in distress, where they actually stand to the attorneys being busy with legal action against them, and or a sale and execution is on its way and they're running in arrears, or maybe they're not in arrears on their mortgage but on their short-term debt, etc. So it's people who need to leverage against their current property or asset to unlock capital to address their current financial need and situation. So in those kind of transactions, the property will obviously be purchased by the real estate investor, who will then take transfer of that property, or if it's bought in another way like an ALA or installment sale agreement, then in that case you will be able to have the property as security, or have a covering bond over that specific property as security to protect you as the real estate investor. Our property owners that we assist with recovery products is those who has a consistent monthly income, have proven that they are employed for a certain period of time and have got a stable job as well as employment, as well as in a specific industry, as we learned after COVID, where there is a more stable workplace, and we can ensure that we can work with them to recover in the time period. And that time period with the term would normally be between 1 and 3 years, with our average being between 18 and 24 months. So that will be normally the term for your investment in a recovery product. If I take you back to what we previously discussed, the recovery product line will include the following. One, where the property owner sells the property to an investor and he takes transfer of that property. The second one, where the property investor can do an installment sale transaction, where he will have a recordal over the title, protecting his rights in that case. And as a lot of people don't even know, it's far better security sometimes as even ownership of a property. And then the third one, where they have a covering bond, if it is what we call a recovery bond, is our product name, then in that case there will be a covering bond or security bond registered over the title of that property in the favor of you as the investor, to protect first of all your capital as well as your returns, as well as a 20% cost clause to cover for any default and that type of thing. Then very important is the client then, if he proceeds with that recovery, will sign a lease to rent the property from the real estate investor for that term. So you'll receive a monthly rental, and we'll talk about what that rental all includes and how it's determined. Then the distressed investment opportunities, as where the tenant then will be assisted during this time, because currently he's been in distress. So he's now taken, and we've got what we call the financial courage company, that is one of our subsidiaries. They take that client from that position, run it through the process, make sure that he keeps to his contract, make sure that his credit score is improved during this term, so that he can at least 3 months prior to that date be ready to either apply for a mortgage or provide guarantees in some way which we've already determined up front, so that transfer can be taken back from you as the investor to the real estate owner at a predetermined price, and which also brings in that predetermined capital growth, which we are talking about in our disruption. Then the tenant, as soon as he qualifies for that mortgage during that term, we obviously will transfer the property back to him. So he repurchases that property at a predetermined price with a predetermined returns. When we speak about the recovery products comparing to a buy-to-let, on this slide, as you will see, we compare the two in the market. And if you look at that, let's start with the buy-to-let. First of all, you have a tenant versus ownership approach, which is very, very important. And this we actually have really seen in the COVID term, where we had seen a drop in that time of good standing tenants from, I think it was probably about 87% drop to up to 62% of good standing tenants in certain rental brackets. And where specifically in the recovery side, the maximum drop we experienced in that where people were running in arrears was 7% compared to that huge drop which was on the buy-to-let market. And why? Because of the ownership approach. People don't want to lose their home, so they'd rather pay their home first and leave the other expenses. Then the next one is predetermined prime plus monthly return on investment. Predetermined, contractually predetermined. So that is very important, especially covered by the fact that it's a 75% of market value or less. Our average is actually closer to about 65% of market value, all cost inclusive, which includes the maintenance as well, and those type of things. So if you want to do a cash positive investment from day one, if I say prime plus, you normally will pay prime for your mortgage or prime less one or whatever that may be. And in this case, you will get a prime plus, so you'll always be prime plus net yield I'm talking about. That means after all rates, taxes, everything is paid, you are sitting with that net yield on the end of the day. Whilst on a normal buy-to-let, it's all based on the market-related rentals. I just sat with a astute real estate investor who got good investments in real estate, which he purchased prior to getting involved with the Wealth Assist team. And his real estate for the last 2 years have not had huge increases in the rentals. So in that case, with the interest rates rising over the last period of time, with the vacancies rising, bad tenant ratings, all those type of things affected his returns in the last period of time. Whilst in our case, that is all covered by the predetermined return that is generated. Then very, very important is probably one of the key differences between us and any other real estate or buy-to-let investment, and that is that we talk, and those who knows the commercial market in the property industry will understand what a triple net lease means. A triple net lease means the tenant pays basically the rates, taxes, and usage in that case, as well as maintenance. And in this case, this is exactly the same. So when there's a rise in levies or there's a rise in interest rates, and it's costing you more because you used mortgage or whatever, your returns will rise in that term. Like in the last period of time, as we all know, about 2% plus was a rise. And in that case, the rental have risen with the same amount proportionally to the amount of the transaction. So that is a really big benefit where rates and taxes, interest rates, and those type of things are normally carried by the landlord in a normal buy-to-let situation. Then very important as well is where your rental is secured, in this case, where a person who goes in default. Let's take COVID time. When the client went into default, now you have to find another job or function where you actually have to find another employment. Lost his job, now he have to apply for another property and he can't necessarily get it because he hasn't got a full-time employment. Then getting that client to move, the expenses to that, if there's evictions, etc., it's huge. And in this case, where the recovery takes place, all that is covered. So when that property or the client went in default, we've pre-agreed in the contracts that the property will be sold on to a third party. And in that case, if sold on to a third party, your capital, your returns, as well as any costs, as well as arrear rates, taxes, rental, etc., will be covered by that buffer of 25% plus, which is in that property before the balance. And that is very, very, very important, for the balance is paid to the previous owner in that case. So we never misuse people's misfortune to enrich ourselves. That's totally against our policy of this company. So in that case, you will get your predetermined returns, your rentals, etc. But after that, everything additional to that will go back to the previous owner to help him to start fresh. Then, how can the distressed owner be assisted? I think that's very important. You can listen to this video and it will give you a complete picture of the typical type of client that we can assist in this matter.
What does assistance from Assist Group look like in real life? Collectively, we create value by assisting the banks, other short-term lending institutions, and their clients in monetizing their impaired financial assets. This is a real-world scenario of the impact on people in distress. The homeowners are married in community of property, and the husband is responsible for payment of the bond. The business operated by the husband is not profitable due to COVID-19 and fell in arrears with mortgage bond payments, municipal rates, taxes, and usage. Critical maintenance was required to avoid damage of the property. The homeowner utilized large sums of unsecured short-term debt to try and address the challenge for their business and arrears. The mortgage bondholder took judgment with a sale in execution scheduled within 60 days, which provided a threat to the family's social fabric. They required time to rehabilitate their credit status to re-enter the mortgage market again. The husband needed time to secure stable and consistent income from the business whilst retaining occupancy of the property. So what is the potential outcome without the assistance of the Assist Group solution? The bank will sell their house on an auction, setting of the bond and recouping legal costs, auction fees, and outstanding balance repayments, leaving the family without a home, still in debt to the bank and creditors. The family will be left in a state of disaster. The wife and the children need to then move back in with her parents, and financial distress will drive her to divorce her husband. The husband's state of mind can be affected and lead to depression, and he can even start contemplating suicide. In most cases, the family's social fabric is completely broken down. This is the outcome for the real estate owner with the Assist Group solution. The home was sold to the investor at less than market value to settle the existing mortgage, and they unlocked additional equity to settle the short-term debt at discounted settlement amounts. We fixed the critical maintenance, which added value to the property, and with assistance from the Assist Group, we were able to stop the scheduled auction, which would have sold at a fraction of the real value. They entered into a rental agreement, an option linked to a lease, to retain occupancy of the property. This also provided time for the business to recover whilst having peace of mind and a stable environment for the family. The Financial Courage Program assisted the owner to recover and repair credit status and repurchase his home at the discounted value, utilizing the normal mortgage from an institution again. This is the summary of the results through the Assist Group. The sale and execution was averted after the sale to an investor. The arrear rates and debt settled from the proceeds unlocked after transfer to the investor. The rental agreement and option fees were paid for the entire period of the transaction. The option linked to the lease was exercised by the owner to purchase the property at a discounted value, providing a stable environment to recover. We then paid the predetermined contractual returns to the investor. What did it look like in monetary terms before and after? In 2020, the owner's real estate market value was 1,650,000 rand, and their bond was 510,000 rand. The maintenance cost was 79,000 rand, arrear rates and taxes were 59,000 rands, and their short-term debt was 550,000 rands. With their monthly expenses of around 87,000 rands per month and a monthly net income of 56,800 rands per month, the homeowners were left with a net shortfall of 30,200 rands per month. After Assist Group intervened, and one of our impact investors purchased the real estate for 1.1 million rands, the owners were able to settle all their short-term unsecured debt. Additionally, the homeowners were able to raise their credit score with our Financial Courage program. The market value of the real estate increased to 1.9 million rand, and the mortgage bond increased to 1.2 million rand. During the period of recovery, the owner's monthly expenses decreased to 12,000 rands while income remained steady at 56,800 rands per month, which allowed the owners to recover as they now have a net income of 17,900 rands per month. Improvements to the property have enabled the owners to benefit from better security as well. So, how much did the assistance cost this homeowner? When the distressed homeowners approached Assist Group, their total net equity would have been just over 530,000 rand, resulting in them losing 30,200 rands per month. Selling under duress threatened to lead to the loss of their property and the proceeds thereof, as well as the complete breakdown of their family's social fabric. Fortunately, we had a solution for them, and their net equity grew to more than 630,000 rand and their net income to over 17,000 rand. Whilst the homeowners were able to recover, the investor enjoyed an 18% return on investment per annum at only 67% exposure to market value, including all costs. In the end, the real estate owner was able to recover, retain their home, and improve their family's social fabric. As a result of this process, the homeowners actually incur no costs due to the capital growth in their property.
This will also explain to you the cost of what the owner's cost was actually on that transaction. And a lot of people don't actually think, how can you actually provide a return of an investment between 16.5 and 18 or whatever percent that is that you will return on investment that you will receive? How can it still be beneficial to the real estate owner? Don't forget that typical million rand property, the escalation on that value is 5% per annum. So you need to take that also in consideration. So, and a lot of times that may be all that is losing is that situation. And on the other hand, are assisted to keep his home, to stop the breakdown of social fabric and family life and that type of thing, which is far more important than all the money in the world. So yes, if we look at our returns, historical returns, we look at the years, you'll see that our lowest was 16.5% per annum. Obviously the higher is substantially higher than what we want to quote, but here's the slide. You can have a look at it and see what is the actuals that was tested during this time. Thank you so much.